We are back. It's happening. We're going to do a live Q&A, which you know what happens when we do live Q&As. I'm kicking my shoes off for this one because that's how much fun it's going to be. I haven't even read the questions yet. They're in my hands right here. What's going on? It's live Q&A time. So I hope you buckle up because you know how we do here. And if you're new to Create the Love, you know that we don't fuck around at live Q&A time. If you're new though, you're like, shit, what's happening here? I thought it's just this guy just answers questions. That is actually true. That's factually true that I do just answer questions. But we have fun as we do it, and I don't know what I might say. It might be inappropriate. I might use sound effects like the gun that I had. I think it was pew pew, whatever, who knows? But I know it's going to be a good time. So let's go and do this. You don't go to bed, Zoe Films Photography. You can't go to bed now, not as the party's starting, you know? This is like right when we're all about to get down. And you're like, I'm tired. And roll over. Not happening. Roll back over. So many directions can happen with that. And most of them lead to some sort of HR issue. So we'll just stay out of it, right? The ZZ plant, if you don't know what a ZZ plant is, it's basically a plant that requires very little attention except for love and appreciation for what you do for me. But they only need to be watered once a month. Okay. I've got it. We're going. Question number 1. I've organically found the one. Or I think. Fuck, it always has one of those. Which is also a fucked up statement. Oh, shit, I like this person. The relationship is in its early stages. I am not consumed by it. In fact, it feels good and easy. So, why can't I feel settled? Why do I still seek other people and hookups and things that suck a large bag of dicks? I did not put that. That is great, though. I haven't heard bag of dicks in a long time, and it probably got canceled. So I can't get canceled for using someone else's language that got them canceled, right? So let's start that again. Why do I still seek other people and hookups and things that suck a large bag of dicks and make me feel empty? Help. This is such a good question because, well, it's ironic that it's still hook up and they suck a large bag of dicks. There is an irony in that statement. You know what I'm saying? Because you can't hook ups and making it sound bad and there being a large bag of wieners, insinuating that there could have been a bag of wieners in the hookups. Anyways, that's a long way around. So this is really fascinating. One, I've organically found the one, so I think, which is an effed up statement. Found the one. So there's now this pressure that gets put on this experience, right? So now the relationship has a lot of pressure. And this is interesting because then this person says the relationship's in its early stages. I'm not consumed by it, although you've titled it the one. So there's a lot on the line by titling it that way. If in fact it feels good and easy, so why can't I feel settled? Why do I still seek other people and hookups that make me feel empty and suck a large bag of wieners? Well, because when we're on that stage of about to get the thing, right? About to get the relationship that we seek, and it's calm and it's easy, and we've titled it the one, which it very well may be, that we are actually allowing ourselves to not have it, right? That we might go sabotage it by, well, first, we're not feeling settled because I can't trust it, right? I used to say that we are often afraid of love, of receiving love, because we don't feel worthy of it, right? That if I don't feel worthy of your love and you tell me that I'm an amazing human and you love me, if there's not a part of me that believes that, I'll have a hard time receiving that. And that part's true. Now, do people run from available love because they don't want to receive it or can't receive it? Yes, and. It's because they can't trust it. It's because they can't trust love, because love has led to something that we're afraid it's going to lead to again, so we don't allow ourselves to fully step into it. Essentially what we do is we create an upper limit And we sabotage right before that. So the upper limit is the amount of capacity perhaps my nervous system has, my relational containment can hold, the level of intimacy that I can have, the level of vulnerability, the level of risk, all of those things. If you're afraid of where love might go and you sabotage before you get to it, then you'll have this space of what you know you can manage. And once you get there, it's blow up city. Maybe you start fights, maybe you sabotage, maybe you cheat, maybe you lie, maybe you do something to not allow yourself to actually arrive in the space that you say you want. So that's why. That's why we do stuff like this. Why do I still seek other people and hookups and things that make me feel empty? Because you have to sit within that space of not pursuing those things, to sit in the discomfort that vulnerability brings, that possibility brings, that love brings, right? So you have to learn how to want to pick up your phone and send a message to that booty call, or send a fleeting chemistry to someone who's walking by you, throwing out some vibe, as they say. Maybe people don't say that, I say that. So you're throwing out the vibe, you're putting out the sexual energy, and you're doing that so that you don't have to be present within your body with the fear and the vulnerability that leads to connection, right? That leads to deeper connection. So you have to build more capacity to not follow the lingering dopamine and serotonin hits, so that you can get more deeply connected within yourself and sit in the feelings of loss, of maybe where love had led that hurt you. So the invitation, because it's easy to say, well, just stop seeking those people and hookups and all the things that make you feel empty. Notice how by seeking the things you feel empty, and in some way you're trying to fill up emptiness. Isn't that interesting? So the feelings that you have of maybe grief, fear, all those things that are within you that you don't want to sit with, the emptiness, you try to fill by doing these things, which those are all just distractions. Can you actually sit in the space of yourself, of your own feelings, of all your own things? All right, so we got it. I think we got it. Listen, whoever this person is, there's no magic sauce. The answer is you got to stop doing the shit that makes you feel empty. You got to stop making choices that make you feel shitty. There's no shortcuts in this. But you know what's interesting is that's the shortcut, is don't do those things. That's the magical pill that will fix everything when people are like, I don't know why I have anxiety, or whatever the feeling might be. Usually, in a lot of ways, not dismissing all the other confounding factors that can get into that, it's not being in alignment with our choices and who we are. It's not being in our hearts. It's not owning ourselves. It's not standing up for ourselves. It's not, saying that decision actually doesn't feel good. You have to listen to the intuitive feelings in your body that say, I feel empty. And you say, oh shit, I feel empty. If I feel empty when I do those things, then that means I actually have to give parts of myself away to actually remove my wholeness, not wholesomeness, which would infer some sort of moral judgment, my wholeness. I have to actually take parts of myself and leave them in places so that I can engage in those behaviors instead of keeping those parts that are already within me, that I don't want to see, and actually love them, learn to sit with them, learn to get to know them, learn to appreciate them, learn to get to know the grief, get to know the fear. Someone said to me the other day, I just want it where I'm not afraid. Like my fear, essentially, like fear's stupid. And I'm like, fear's not stupid. Fear comes from a good place, especially if you're walking on the edge of a cliff and the rocks are sliding a little bit. Fear might save your life. Fear might save your life walking down the street. But where fear is actually an automatic response, where it's preventing you from love, it's preventing you from closeness, then it's not rational fear, right? And so that's why you need to begin to take space within yourself so you can observe the fear. Like fear doesn't go anywhere, just like triggers don't. People go, well, I had all my shit figured out, and then I got triggered the other day. I thought I had my shit figured out. And I'm like, your trigger is your warning signal. You don't want to get rid of that. You just want to choose constructive, building intimacy behaviors from the trigger, which when you get triggered, maybe you need a boundary. Maybe you need to breathe. Maybe you need to learn how to communicate better. Maybe you need to learn how to not shut down or not cheat or not lie. Whatever it is, the trigger, the somatic response, the brilliant intuition that you have is saying, pay fucking attention. The only thing we don't do is we don't grow up in the space between the trigger and the response and become adults. We stay in child responses. We stay in these teenage responses that are sabotage-like. And so maybe a way that we processed and dealt with emotion and discomfort was that we went and got in fights, or we went and caused trouble, and that got attention from our parents, and we became the fuck up. You're not a fuck up. You don't have to do that to get love and attention. Just like you don't have to sabotage relationships because you are worthy of it, and you can trust it if you learn how to trust yourself and stand in your own power. So let's get to question 2, because that was a real fucking good one, wasn't it? We started off with a bag of dicks, and we ended up with that answer. And if you need context because you just joined, that was part of the question. I'm not just saying the words bag of dicks, but I've been wanting to say them for a long time because I forgot about that saying. It's uncanceled. All right, I listened to one of your podcast episodes where your guest mentioned how butterflies in the stomach are anxiety. I thought butterflies meant chemistry. How am I meant to tell if they are good butterflies or bad ones? Well, listen, all butterflies, the flappy ones, are great. Butterflies that are in your stomach are actually potentially anxiety, right? Uncertainty. And maybe when we find the perfect chemical concoction, we get them. Because maybe if we're used to choosing people who aren't good for us, right? Because people go, but it's just chemistry. I can't help who I'm drawn to. Yeah, but you can help what you go towards. So when you're walking around and your little ding-dong radar or your Vaj radar or whatever kind of radar you have is going off and you're like, ding, 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 oh, I gotta go to that. It's like, no, you got a fucking choice. You got a choice. And maybe your chemistry, when it is butterflies, is actually saying, don't go towards that. Learn not to go towards that. And then once you do that, and this is when we say that when chemistry draws us to people who aren't good for us, we know that chemistry in and itself can be broken, right? In some sense. And if chemistry has brought us to chaos, if we learn that love was chaos as a kid, then we might be drawn to chaos, right? And we might call that chemistry. We might call that love. If you had parents who were unreliable, who didn't show up for you, and then you get people who don't show up for you, you might say that's a normal relationship. But someone taught you the wrong thing about love. Love is reliable. And it is reliability. It is when things are fucked up, when life throws lemons, will you help me make lemonade? Will you be there for me when I need you? Right? And so we need to be able to assess reliability. A great question to ask yourself is my partner reliable? And if they're not reliable, you're going to have an unconscious need to create security in different ways. Like, hey, we should have a kid. No, you shouldn't. Because that'll just magnify your shit. We should get married. No, you shouldn't. That'll just magnify your shit. It doesn't fix security. Gifts don't fix insecurity. And so if we learned how to meet our needs, my need for security, my need for safety, with wants, buy me a purse, or buy me whatever, a trip, that doesn't actually get you it. It doesn't get you it. It meets a want instead of a need. And a lot of us were taught to meet needs with wants. And so getting back to this, how do you know? Well, your chemistry, your butterflies might actually work. So I might not be speaking to you if you're like, oh, when I get a connection with someone and I have that feeling of what I call butterflies, because remember, what I call butterflies might be different than what you do, and that could be literally a butterfly, right? I think butterfly, I saw one today with yellow wings, beautiful. You might think of one with white wings, right? So it's important to recognize that what I call it and what you call it might be different things. So yours might work. If it brings you to really good people and they're being great partners who are reliable, your chemistry works. No need to fucking change shit up. But if your chemistry draws you to abusive, unavailable, prick, dick, I can't use that term, right? That's not a good term to use. A-holes, all the things, then you know that your chemistry needs to have awareness assigned with it that says, I'm gonna make reliability sexy. I'm gonna make trust sexy, because it is. Your body needs it. That's what your body wants to hump. Your body ultimately wants to hump that. But if you get drawn to people who are not great for you and then you bang them, the arousal will treat the lack of reliability, the uncertainty. So the fear of being left or being abandoned or not chosen, which we often oscillate in those relationships where we don't know where we fit and we don't say anything and we keep banging them. Every time we bang them or get a blowjob or we go down on them, they go down on us, and all the different, there's a lot of sauces happening, you know, all that stuff. That what happens is our bodies treat the abandonment and rejection with the arousal. So we might call that eroticizing your pain, another form of addiction, right? So if I feel not chosen, not able to sit in my grief, not able to sit in this space, right? And not make choices within ambivalence, right? In that space of ambivalence. And I normalize ambivalence, right? That it's normal to know or not think I'm chosen. Then what happens is when I'm in a relationship like that, I won't choose my way out of it. And so the chemistry could be drawing you to make different choices, right? And what we often do in that suffering is go on Instagram, do drugs, pump, jerk off, whatever we might do, anything that gets the dopamine here to pull me away from here. And so, you know, another thing that I don't know why I want to say this, but I want to say it because it might apply to you, which is if we're often in our heads, right? If we're often people who are perfectionists or live in the academic space mainly, then what can happen is that we went here because it was safe. And so the journey back is to here, right? Is into intuition, body. And we probably left here because it hurt too much to stay there. So, you know, that's why we have to get back in there. And I see that quick question. This is the only one I'm going to answer from the chat. Help, he doesn't know what he wants after 14 weeks of knowing me. Help, run, help. You should have a help sign. Someone get in a car and pick your ass up and get you out of there. You don't need help. You don't need me to tell you that. You are the authority of your life. You know that. I don't need to tell you that. You're asking for help for us to justify why you should sit in a space of ambivalence. You don't need to. He doesn't know what he wants, which is not this, right? And that's okay. You're not a great fit for everybody, but remember, you're choosing this person too. So when you're saying help, he doesn't know what he wants, it's been 14 weeks. If you were choosing your partnership, would you want that person? They don't know what they want. If you're choosing, which you actually are, you're not in the space of waiting for fucking Prince Charming to come on a horse and save you. But what happens if he doesn't want to pick me up? Get on your own fucking horse and ride off and go pick someone else up. So, great question. You got me a little fired up because I'm passionate about this for you. I'm passionate to say to you that you have the power to choose and stop tolerating fucking bullshit. Stop tolerating ambivalence. Stop tolerating people and trying to find the answer to, they don't know what they want. What should I do? Do you know what you want? If you know what you want, then it's not people who don't know what they want. I don't even know if that makes sense, but either way, run. Okay. Question 3. How do you cut ties with someone fully, even when you feel there's a soul connection? Even after blocking and deleting, I still feel his presence all the time. I still have a strong sense that he's missing me. It's draining me mentally and I can't connect with my current partner because of this block. How do I let him go completely? Well, you got some language that tells me a lot. One is, I still feel his presence all this time. I still have a strong sense that he's missing me. You don't know that. That's a story you made up. I have a strong sense that he's missing me. You don't know that. You believe that. so that it facilitates your obsession, which is holding you back from being present with your current partner. I love the courageousness of your question because, one, a lot of people judge these sort of circumstances, but they actually live them, right? So we're like in a relationship and we feel chemistry somewhere and we're like, just pretend it doesn't exist. Jump on everybody else who asks those questions because fuck that, that's a red flag. Because we're so afraid of paradoxes within our own bodies. We're afraid that we live in conflicting truths often, which we all do. And there's a space that we need to learn how to observe them and learn from them, but we have so much shame about this stuff that we can't sit with it. So let's sit with it. So how do you cut ties? In the chat, they said cord cutting. Cord cutting, you can go to a Reiki practitioner, get cord cutting done. I've had cord cutting done. It's fantastic. There was no cord that actually came out of me like an umbilical cord, but I could tell you whether it was placebo or not, when I walked away, I was like, what's up? Goodbye. Balloon gone. Now, that speaks to the balloon. Hope, future, possibility. You use the word, how do I cut ties with someone fully, when you feel there's a soul connection. You've told yourself the story that there's a soul connection. That doesn't mean that there is actually a soul connection. Because you've fallen in love with the story, you're not in love with reality, which reality is you're in a good partnership that you want to be more present to. So the next question I would ask, actually let's get to that question in a second, which is, no, let's do this question now. How do you benefit by holding on? What do you protect yourself from feeling, thinking, experiencing? That's a beautiful question from Terry Cole, who's an amazing psychologist. And she's got a great Instagram. You should go follow her. And I did a crushing codependency course with her. She's a badass. So my question is, how do you benefit in terms of, and you do benefit. You protect yourself from feeling something and experiencing something. Everybody does, or we wouldn't do it. Vulnerability, openness, a future with someone else, possibility. If we believe that love leads to rejection, abandonment, suffering, I will fall in love with what was because I'll never have to be close again, right? I get to hold that back. I get to hold it back by being in love with someone who's not available, and I get to relive abandonment. I get to relive constant rejection while I'm sitting in the face of possibility and not able to meet it because I'm scared. Because I'm scared that if I fall in love and open my heart, someone will leave. And someone will take my worthiness with them. Someone will make me hurt again. And I don't want to hurt because I don't know how to touch the hurt that I have. So we have to go into the hurt that we have. And so it sounds like there's a hurt that's in this person's question. And it's really important to hold on to that hurt, to touch it, where the core wound is, where the core experience is. And even after blocking and deleting, you still feel their presence. If this is a soul connection, which it is, I'm not going to deny that. It's just that there's an idea that the soul connection means forever. But what happens if the soul connection, this one, is to actually teach you how to let go? What happens if this soul connection is actually to show you how to grow up and deal with your feelings? How to sit in them? How to allow them to cook you and expand you and make you a bigger human, a human that can love all out. And when someone leaves you, you're still there. That is the point when people leave us and they leave us devastated, which I've experienced more than once. I learned my own power. I learned that people can only leave me devastated if they take some part of me with them that I give them, which is my worthiness, which is how lovable I am, which is how much I am a priority or importance. And this is why core wounds that come from childhood, when we have been rejected, when we've been abandoned, all of those things are devastating because the child gets to choose either my parent is flawed or I'm fucked up and I'm unworthy. And given the choice of seeing what they think is a God, which is how we see a parent as a kid, we choose option number one or option number two, I forget which one I said, which is there's something wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with you, but there's something wrong with how someone interacted with you when you were young. There's something wrong with your experience. That was wrong. That person is responsible for how they showed up for a child. And they might not have taken responsibility, but the way you can take responsibility and grow up and not stay in a child state is you can show up for you. Showing up for you would mean not tolerating bullshit anymore, not allowing a soul connection to hold you back from love, because the story in and of itself will continue to re-traumatize you in the fear that you're not enough. And the only way you'll learn that you're enough is by showing up for yourself. That's it. There's no other answer. Someone else can come into your life. Let it be me. You're worthy of love. You're worthy of being shown up for. You were, and you are, and someone should have, and they didn't. But let me remind you that you're worthy of that, and the only way you're going to know that is if you do it for yourself. That is literally the only way you're going to know. Other people can remind you by saying, I love you, you're the best, you're an incredible human, and you'll be like, that's true, I can be all those things, but underneath, there's still a story that I'm not enough, and that's why that person left. That person left because they couldn't show up. They couldn't handle responsibility. They're a human too. And you know, I love the thought that we are handed every experience that we need to be handed for a soul's evolution. And that isn't to minimize someone's experience, but rather to say, grab onto the things that you've experienced and say, how can you cook me? How can you teach me? How can you expand me? How can you transform me? Right? You know, Francis Weller talks about how alchemy doesn't care about the alchemist. That the act of alchemy, turning coal into gold or whatever it is, doesn't give a fuck about the process. Like alchemy, the act of transformation, the act of you changing, the act of you growing, the act of you becoming a fucking incredibly powerful human due to the things that you've been through. The act of alchemy doesn't care about your feelings. And that's not to minimize your feelings or say you shouldn't have grief or anger as to what has occurred in your life. But to say that the actual act of transformation, just like the cocoon doesn't give a fuck about the caterpillar, it just wants the caterpillar to become a butterfly. And so life might have cooked you. It's cooked me many times. But can you answer the call? Can you show up? Can you become the adult you're being asked to become? Can you expand and accept the invitation? That is life. That's responsibility. That's adulting. And you can. I know you can. But you're the one who has to choose it. You're the one who has to choose it. And you will continue to be challenged in your life if you don't accept the invitations. So you got to accept them. And those invitations are subtle nudges that say, hey, maybe we should end this relationship. Hey, maybe we should have this conversation. Hey, maybe we should quit alcohol. Hey, maybe that person's bad for me. Hey, maybe we should change. Hey, maybe we should soften. Hey, maybe we should get some boundaries. Hey, maybe we should find some more reliable friends. Hey, maybe we should stop putting our worth in other people's hands. Hey, maybe we should become powerful. Hey, maybe we should use our fucking voice. Hey, maybe we should shout from the rooftops. Hey, maybe we should show up. We should show up fully. And if you showed up fully at the level of wisdom that you had, if you showed up fully to every lesson that you've been taught, if you showed up fully, how would your life change? What would be possible? Everything would be possible. And here you are, sitting on 50% of your potential, 50% of your possibility, maybe 75, maybe 30. It doesn't matter because it's less than 100. And you got a choice. You're going to turn down the volume to keep everybody else comfortable in your life and you mediocre and you in mediocre relationships. Are you going to show the fuck up? And you're going to stand up and use your voice and change your life and change your relationships. You know, this is a conversation about relationships, but it's really not. It's a conversation about life. Relationships just magnify our stuff. That's it. And you might be on here more willing to change your life because of something that occurred in relationship. That's great because that's the gateway. But either way, any gateway is possible. Any rock bottom is possible. Any discomfort. It doesn't even have to be big. It could just be like that conversation didn't go that well. And then you're like, shit, I guess I better do better next time. And maybe I should learn how to repair that previous conversation. And then you do it. And you start. Right? Or you walk off the battlefield because maybe the request is stop fighting. Carolyn Mace has a great quote that says something along the lines of that: stop fighting for a life that you think you should have so you can allow your life to flow through you. And think about how many jobs we do that we're not passionate about, how many things we do that we don't love, how many things we stay in that are mediocre. When our soul goes, there's so much more here. And the question, I think that we ask ourselves very often on the precipice of the transformation is, I think there's more to life. I think there's more. I think there's more possibility. I think there's more potential. And there is, always. Just don't leave any on the table. Most of us are sitting with the volume turned down, not doing these things. And you can. You can create anything you want. You just got to say yes to it. So that's it. I'm tapping out. That was 3 questions. We didn't fuck around. We blew some shit up. We started talking about a bag of dicks and we got to possibility and potential, right? That seems like a really good, fun time. So with all that said, you got this. And this is going to be saved. And much love to all of you. I hope you have a beautiful, beautiful day.